Colleges panic as Alabama anti-DEI law kicks in, closes DEI offices, websites, and student centers. More and more colleges are dropping DEI, and more companies are dropping DEI. The momentum has completely reversed. Alabama's new anti-DEI law, signed by Governor Kate Ivey, bans the use of public funds for diversity, equity, and inclusion offices and programs in state institutions. Why should this state or any government be paying for discriminatory offices? Alabama Governor Kay Ivey stated, quote, "I refuse to allow a few bad actors on college campuses, or wherever else for that matter, to go under the acronym of DEI using taxpayer funds to push their liberal political movement counter to what the majority of Alabamians believe." And that could be Alabamians, but I'm going with Alabamians. As a result of the law, the University of Alabama, UA, closed its Black Student Union office and the Safe Zone Resources Center, removing all associated signage and resources. Jordan Stokes, president of the Black Student Union at UA, expressed sadness over the closure of their office, saying, quote, "We are saddened by the loss, not just of a physical space, but of a space where we have gathered, shared, and built a community rooted in our shared experiences, struggles, and triumphs. Our office was more than just four walls. It was a haven for all of us, a place where we could be ourselves, support one another, and celebrate our culture and heritage. All of those things are wonderful, but you can't do that at government expense. The public should not be providing those kinds of places. It's one thing to have a student union or a student center that everyone is allowed to participate in, but a special center is not appropriate. There have been historically some of these special centers that were actually okay and no one really had any objection to them, whether they focused on African Americans or other minority groups, they were okay. The problem was when people started utilizing these centers as a way to push a political ideology and force it throughout the college. They became base camps inside institutions for pushing a woke agenda. And that was not going to work, especially in Republican-led states. The Safe Zone Resource Center, once a supportive place for LGBTQ students, was converted into a standard conference room. Well, then anyone can use it and anyone can meet there. The law also impacts 6 Alabama universities, which announced plans to dissolve their diversity departments, affecting around 50 employees. And these employees, while they get let go or reassigned, can always have an opportunity to look for jobs at the universities they work at. They just can't congregate in one place and push a political agenda. Former DEI staff at UA system campuses have been reassigned to new roles focused on access and engagement. And even if in these new roles they're trying to push their agenda, it's fine, as long as they're not all collected in one place as a base of operations for pushing their agenda on the entire student and faculty populations. Auburn University, which had previously expanded its DEI office, closed its Office of Inclusion and Diversity and reassigned the staff to other roles. Brychelle Brooks, a student journalist at Auburn University, noted the shift in tone from the university after the law was passed. Quote, "The week that the bill was passed, President Roberts of the university sort of backtracked and said we were going to follow it no matter what the legislation was passed. They're going to follow the law. They're going to follow the legislation. All of these colleges and universities will follow the law. If they don't follow the law and they get caught not following the law, there can be penalties related to the financing of the universities. If they don't get the financing from the government, the universities will cease to exist. Everybody wants to keep getting paid. And the Republicans that push through this legislation will be watching to make sure the colleges keep in line. That's what they're doing really in every state." Drake Pooley, an Auburn graduate and former diversity advocate, criticized the decision to close the DEI office, stating, quote, "Everybody treats problems nationally nowadays, and so they see what's happening at Berkeley, and they think that's happening at Auburn. And these are two different worlds. Yes, but your governor and the rest of the legislature doesn't want this nonsense paid for by the state, by the government. Even when the state isn't paying for this, but federal funds pass through the state don't want those federal funds passing to these kinds of organizations and pushing this on their college campuses. The state has a population of local people that live and work and function in their state. They don't want people brainwashed in their colleges. Auburn University remains the least racially diverse public university in Alabama, with black students making up only 5% of the student body, which is interesting, but I would never even think to ask. UA has removed references to diversity and equity from its strategic goals and deleted its diversity plan from the university website. For any university to say that their goal is equity, what, they're going to change society through their university? No, they may create a lot of people that have unrealistic expectations about how the world works, but there is no way to get people past the concept of merit. No matter what your university says, no matter what your company says, no matter what the government says, even no matter what the TV says. And that's the most insidious part about this agenda, telling people that because of their skin color, they're entitled to something different than what other people are entitled for. Saying they don't need to work as hard. Yes, you do. This was a fad. They're just lying to people to try to get their support. And they don't care what actually happens to these people when they try to go live a life and get out into the workforce. If they did, they wouldn't be pushing these ridiculous degrees in colleges and universities that have no commercial value. Like feminist dance theory, for example. That's not a commercial talent. Many student organizations at Alabama universities, such as the Queer Student Organization and Esperanza, have lost funding and support due to the new law. Miguel Luna, a junior at UAB, expressed concern over the impact of the funding cuts on student organizations. Quote, "These programs are supposed to be for improving retention and graduation rates and trying to provide more opportunities for people to take their rightful seat at the table." Well, it's not exactly a rightful seat if you have to get state subsidies to get yourself a chair at a table that you didn't actually earn. That's the problem. We all have to work hard, and we all have to pick realistic goals. The government can't subsidize us into being competent. He continues to complain, but with these programs gone, I think we're going to start seeing communities that have begun to heal start to get more hurt. Oh my God, would you just do your homework? Finish your homework, write your essays, get good grades, develop a good reputation, and go out into the world. These student organizations now face challenges in organizing events and securing resources. They were previously funded by DEI offices. Yes, you actually, if you're passionate about an event or something, you get to go raise the money for that event. You go to get support for that event. That's what legitimizes what you're passionate about. You've got to get support for it. Bryce Shuttlecott had this to say. As the leader of UA's Queer Student Association, she voiced her frustration with the situation, saying, quote, "It sucks that this is something that we're all having to deal with. And it sucks that stuff that we fought for so long in Alabama, having a DEI office, having a safe zone, having organizations for queer people, organizations for minorities. Now all of that is slowly going away." Yeah, but none of that was actually earned. It was a handout. It was a handout that the taxpayers were paying for. They don't want to pay for these handouts. They want you to be as queer as you want to be, but you have to kind of make your choices at your own expense. Or live your true life and your true self at your own expense. However you want to phrase it, at your own expense. Some university resources, such as scholarships and retention programs, were removed from websites as part of compliance with the law. Students and faculty are expressing uncertainty and anxiety about the impact of these changes as the new school year begins. Neff Irvin, a junior at the University of Alabama at Huntsville, shared his anxiety about the changes. It actually says their anxiety about the changes. I don't know what they're talking. I don't know if it's a woman or a man or both. I'm going with his. Neff had this to say, quote, "There's so many unknowns that is almost terrifying in a way because nobody knows exactly how this is going to go. Like, look, this is nothing terrifying for you or them or whoever you are. All you have to do is pursue what you're interested in. And if you want to do something special, Don't beg the taxpayers to pay for it because you're not entitled to it. That's what they're telling you. The answer is no. That's okay. We all get a lot of no's in life. That's how you can decide if it's something you're really interested in. If it's something you're interested in, a couple of no's from people giving you handouts is not going to stop you. You keep going. You keep pushing. And this is a great lesson to learn in life. If you're not that interested in it, maybe you shouldn't be doing it. UAB shifted the Social Justice Advocacy Council from a university-funded group to a student organization, which now must secure its own funding. And isn't that fantastic? A group that is legitimate enough to secure its own funding. Sydney Tessman, a junior at UAB, shared her fear about returning to a changed campus, stating, quote, "Things are changing, and we have no idea how they're changing. I'm scared. I'm going to come back to a completely different campus and have no idea what I'm walking into." It's not going to turn into like a supermarket. It's still a campus. There are still students there. There are professors there. All you need to do is go to your classes, do your homework, write your essays, do a good job, be dedicated to it. Participate in student organizations that you're interested in. Don't expect and demand handouts literally for anything. You might get a few anyway, but just don't depend on them. Nothing is changing. Everyone who is queer is still going to be queer, and whoever was straight is still going to be straight, and whoever was a they, them will still be a they, them, those, whatever. It won't be changing that much. But if you want something special from the institution, you're going to have to earn it. You can create your own student organization. You just have to fund it and get your own support. Students involved in these organizations are concerned about the sustainability of their programs and events without institutional support. Student morale is reportedly affected by the loss of safe spaces and support systems that were previously provided by DEI offices. You don't need those safe spaces. You need to create your own spaces with your own kinds of people at your own expense. If you need a safe space to function, then you need a lot more than just a safe space, and there's something deeply wrong. Most people might think they need it, they don't really need it. Faculty members at Auburn are altering course titles and syllabi to comply with the new law, raising concerns about academic freedom and diversity in education. The law's impact has extended to the elimination of programs that supported racial diversity, LGBT support, and multicultural education on campus. Students and alumni are seeking alternative funding and support to continue programs that were previously backed by university DEI offices. And they weren't just backed by them. They were all paid for by the state. They provided administrative resources financed by the state. None of that should have happened in the first place. Bryce Shuttlecott also mentioned the Safe Zone Emergency Fund, so finances that were available in case of emergency to people who had certain sexual preferences only. And that was provided for and arranged for by the state. I mean, come on. Are you going to say that if you have a financial problem, your sexual preferences should entitle you to receive extra free money or loans in case you feel you need them? Perhaps that's the way she feels. She explained that staffers, quote, recently assured her that the fund would not disappear and that it will remain anonymous and accessible for queer students and queer students only. And how will they test you if you're queer or not? I don't know. There are all kinds of scammers out there. But if you think about it, they shouldn't have access to funds that other students don't have access to just because of some kind of sexual preference or sexual born that way or whatever it really is. I don't know. I'm not a scientist. But no, of course you shouldn't have access to borrow money or to get free grants just because of who you sexually prefer. Alabama's college Republicans have praised the new law, expressing support for its enforcement on campus. And they will help the legislature keep an eye on things to make sure things are not getting out of whack again and comply with the new law. The future of diversity and inclusion efforts at Alabama universities remains uncertain as the law takes full effect in October 2024. Sean Atchison, former president of the University of Alabama's Queer Student Association, reflected on the loss of community support, saying, quote, "From what I can tell, our community has been eliminated entirely." Of course, their community has not been eliminated entirely. The state of Alabama is not going to participate in your sexual preferences or your skin color or your gender. They don't want that happening in their public universities. You can have whatever student groups you want. You can have whatever events you want. You can't have the university sanctioning those events with its own money and its own resources paid for by the constituents of Alabama. The citizens don't want it. They don't want to pay for it. They don't want to participate in it. You can do it on your own. And that's how it's going to go if it's going to continue at all. Let me know what you think of all this in the comments below. Always love to see your ideas. Please be sure you are subscribed to the channel. Click the bell for notifications, give me a thumbs up, and I'll see you again soon with another story. And if I don't see you, I will miss you.